views and opinions expressed within the following program are solely those of the individual. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Shaw TV.
Hey Calgary, I'm Kevin Chorney. It's January 30th, and this is Calgary Now. Solar energy technology has been around for centuries. Early Greek and Chinese communities built homes oriented towards the sun to provide heating and light. And while interest in solar technology was sparked in the 1860s when coal was thought to have become scarce, development of solar technology eventually declined as coal and petroleum remained available and affordable. Fast forward to the 1980s, and interest was renewed, and development in solar technologies picked up again as energy policies were created to provide alternatives to traditional forms of energy production. The popularity of solar energy-powered homes has continued to grow around the world, as it has become relatively more affordable and attractive to those who want to wean off their reliance of fossil fuels and the high price of monthly energy bills. While the technology is more accessible these days, it's still a long-term investment that for many is unattainable without incentives. Solar energy companies do exist in Alberta, yet our deregulated system hasn't resulted in an increase in alternatives to traditional energy providers. So, what needs to be done to entice more Albertans to solar energy-powered homes and businesses? Fossil fuels are the name of the game in Calgary. One way or another, it's still how the majority of us make our livelihood. But that shouldn't mean there isn't room for other options as to where we acquire our energy, right? As the prices of solar installations fall and other regions continue to showcase the advantages of solar energy, it would seem that we're ignoring the potential of this alternative energy source right here in Alberta. Sure, some will argue that we've made great strides, and in some cases we probably have. But with the deregulation of power now catching up to a growing number of Calgarians and Albertans facing spiking electricity bills, one would think we'd see more of a push for solar energy. In fact, since 2008, the price of photovoltaic panels that convert sunlight to electricity has fallen by 75%, and solar installations have multiplied tenfold in the United States. So, what's up here? What's the holdup? In just moments, I'm sitting down with those in the know to give us a little bit of perspective here. By all means, shoot us your 2 cents via Twitter at Calgary Now Show to get the ball rolling. Let's hear from the Rant Pack.
Solar energy really excites me. Anything that's alternative, anything that's up and coming, I just get excited because I think that's our future, that's something that we should be thinking about and something that we should be taking seriously. You know, even if the cost is really high and it's not quite feasible, we should be just working on it because it's our future and it really matters to make sure that, we've got something ready for us when things, are going to change.
Hey Calgary, thanks for joining us tonight. We're happy to welcome author Chris Turner, David Vanesh from Skyfire Energy, and solar-powered homeowner Natasha Robinson. Guys, thanks very much for being here. Real quick, Chris, tell us about yourself, your expertise, if you would.
Well, I've written 2 books on sustainability, including renewable energy, the way renewable energy technology works with a number of other sort of changes in the sort of baseline of how we run our societies to get to a more low-carbon, more sustainable future. So that's, I guess, my primary area of expertise. I've spent a lot of time traveling the world looking actually at the state-of-the-art in places like Germany and Denmark and renewable energy, that sort of thing.
An excellent guest. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Great to have you. Natasha, a solar-powered homeowner, and kind of a rarity in Alberta. Yeah,
a little bit. So we just moved in September, and we love it.
Tell me a little bit more about yourself.
About myself is that I'm a biologist, and I work for an environmental consulting company in the oil and gas industry.
Awesome stuff. Rock and roll. And David, yourself?
I'm a partner and engineer with a solar contractor called Skyfire Energy. So I've been doing that for about 6 years. And I'm also on the board of an cooperative electrical retailer called Spark. Yeah. We have a mandate of supporting renewable energy projects in Alberta, so tying in from a couple different positions there.
Awesome, rock and roll. Again, thanks guys for being here. Real quick to start us off, solar powered, not really catching on so much in Alberta. Why is that? What is it about non-renewable, resource-rich Alberta that's kind of missed the mark with solar?
Well, I think there's probably a few things. One of them is government leadership. But going back a bit, I would say that there's probably more solar in Alberta than people realize.
Is that right?
There's solar visible from every major road in Alberta. There's full communities of solar, as Natasha lives in a home in Okotoks. There's a community in South Calgary, Cranston, where there's a full community of 30 homes, all with which will have solar on them. So it is becoming more and more visible, and more people are seeing it, on their homes, on businesses, and things like that. But I think government leadership is lacking a little bit in this province. We are seeing some movement on that. We just appointed a associate minister of electricity, renewable and renewable energy. So
we're making strides.
We're making strides. Yeah.
Are we getting close, or am I off the mark?
Well, I think there is a lot of inertia in the system we've got. People know it; it's trustworthy. The grid, even though it is a deregulated market, even though there are a lot of private companies involved. The way we price electricity, the way we get electricity connected to the system, there's a lot of government involved. The processes are already in place. So if you're trying to do something like connect rooftop solar systems, even something more ambitious like Drake Landing and Okotoks, you're going to run into a lot of obstacles. And if there aren't incentives in place to help you get over those obstacles, a lot of homeowners, a lot of home builders, a lot of people involved in the construction trades are just not going to see the option. The other thing is, in a sense, with solar power, what the value proposition, if you don't have some sort of incentive, some sort of help with the financing, is how about paying for the next, 10, 15, 20 years of your electricity or your heating or both up front. And for a lot of homeowners, that's not necessarily cash they're going to have on hand, not debt that they want to take on. They're not sure how long they're going to stay in the house. So we really do have to rethink some of the ways we finance this stuff if we're going to make it happen.
That's an excellent point. Is there any credence, any traction to potential? I've heard talk of, there's a lobby against solar. It is, like I say, a non-renewable resource-based province. Is there any traction to that, or is that bogus?
Well, in Alberta here, the way we're compensated, like the way solar owners are compensated for their energy, they're receiving the retail rate. So 7, 8, 9 cents a kilowatt hour for that energy they're exporting to the grid. Solar is producing its energy during peak demand times in Alberta. So we're in our deregulated market, we have a power pool where the price fluctuates on the hour. Solar being, producing the energy during the daytime when we're using that energy would see very much higher prices on the power pool. So while solar is receiving that 7, 8, 9 cents a kilowatt hour, our coal plants and gas plants in Alberta are seeing 13 to 15 cents at that exact same moment. Of course, the average price is a lot lower than that, but during the hours solar is producing, it's not at this point receiving fair compensation for the energy produced.
So Natasha, as a solar-powered home owner, what was your motivation then? Was it economic? Was it environmental?
My motivation is environmental because of the industry that I work in. You'd be surprised, actually, in pipeline industry, how much solar panels are used to facilitate energy with all of their huge wells and things like that are basically in the middle of nowhere.
And otherwise wouldn't have access to energy.
Exactly. And how are you going to they're not going to bring out any type of electricity or anything for them because they're all over the place. But that was my main motivation. And I tried to, my fiance was very skeptical about living in a solar paneled house because he works in the oil and gas industry as well. And after the first month, we got our first gas bill, and it was like $10. So
that's good news. He was excited.
Oh yeah. Since then, he wants to put solar panels on the trailer, solar panels on everything. So he's all about it, and he actually wants to start maybe thinking about if we ever buy another place to make sure that it's at least as close to possible as being off the grid.
Right. So was your community, to choose to live in that community, was that a greater expense than neighboring communities?
No, it was actually cheaper.
It was cheaper?
Yeah, and the houses are about the same size, if not a little bit bigger than what we were looking at.
That's surprising to me. I think there's maybe a bit of a misconception that solar is, for some reason, I think a lot of people still think it's a newer technology. I think clearly there has been advancements made in solar, but is there still that stigma that solar energy attributes a higher cost, do you think?
Well, I think that the stigma is definitely there. And if you are looking at a market where the price structure has already been kind of built to favor conventional fuels or that sort of thing, it's going to be harder to enter. But the other thing that's happening, and I think this is the big part that we don't realize so much in Alberta, is how quickly the solar industry globally is moving. I mean, something like what is it, 2/3 of all the solar on the planet was installed in the last 2.5 years.
Wow.
Prices are dropping. I mean, it's down, I think, about 80% in the last 5 years in terms of the price of an actual panel.
Right.
The market is changing so quickly that even, as a homeowner, if you checked 6 months ago what it was going to cost to put solar on your roof, it's out of date. And then I think that's part of what. So we're now getting to the point where, it's becoming cost competitive even without, a government that maybe would be a little more enthusiastic about this.